Hi, I'm Tayyeb Hadi, a PhD researcher at the Department of Marketing at KU Leuven in Belgium. My research focuses on ethics and face-to-face fundraising and the possible implications for the effectiveness of face-to-face campaigns. For those not familiar with the term face-to-face, also known as direct dialogue, face-to-face is a fundraising technique in which recruiters interact with donors in person and solicit donations for nonprofit organizations. In this video, I want to share my most recent research done in collaboration with my colleagues Tine de Bok, Tine Vasseur, and Siegfried de Witte at KU Leuven. My colleagues and I reviewed 50 years of literature of face-to-face by nonprofit organizations, focusing on door-to-door and street fundraising. Together, we read 67 articles published in academic journals in order to present you the state-of-the-art of face-to-face fundraising. Existing research focuses on three major themes. These are the outcomes of face-to-face, which can be funding-related outcomes, but also non-funding related outcomes. Second, there are the actors participating in face-to-face, with articles studying the actor-related factors and their effect on face-to-face outcomes. Lastly, there is the context in which face-to-face takes place, with articles researching context-related factors and their effects on face-to-face outcomes. So what does the research find? I'll give you some of our findings. For all the findings, I recommend you to read our article, which is published open access. One more thing, do keep in mind that most of these studies are standalone studies with respect to face-to-face, and as such, their findings are context specific. An effect found in an experiment in the US in 1973 does not necessarily replicate in your context. Let's first look at outcomes. Face-to-face is more successful in convincing people to donate higher average donation amounts than other fundraising techniques. At the same time, nonprofit organizations using face-to-face have less positive reputations and are supported less by donors and volunteers compared to nonprofit organizations using direct mail. Now let's look at actors and actor-related factors affecting face-to-face outcomes. Research focuses on nonprofit organizations, recruiters, and donors. Regarding nonprofit organizations and their factors, research studies nonprofit organizations' communication strategy, discursive strategy. This is their strategy regarding linguistic tactics and practices. The nonprofit organization's cause, donor value. This is the extent to which donors' value expectations are met by a nonprofit organization, and recruiter compensation policy. This is the way nonprofit organizations compensate their recruiters. The cause of a nonprofit organization, for example, affects attrition rates in face-to-face. Overseas development has the highest attrition rates, while environmental causes have the lowest attrition rates. With respect to recruiters and their factors, research analyzes recruiters' demographic characteristics and their appearances. Let's look at appearances. When looking at appearance, for example, one finding is that more attractive female recruiters who are white receive a higher total amount of donations, mostly because more men donate. Regarding donors and their factors, research examines donors' demographic characteristics, their perceptions. This is perceptions independent of the face-to-face interaction. Their dispositions, this is their character, their personality and habits, and their preferences. Donors, for example, donate higher average amounts when they perceive the nonprofit organization as efficient. This efficiency is based on overhead cost ratio. Now let's look at context and context-related factors affecting face-to-face outcomes. Research focuses on the campaign design, the conversation design, and the setting in which face-to-face takes place. Let's look at campaign design. With respect to campaign design, we see that research focuses on several things. It's the use of photographs. Request method is the direct request or an indirect request. Payment method, is it cash only, card only, or a mix? Opt-out option, this is the option to not participate in the solicitation. And incentive use, for example, giving gifts before or after donations. In cash-only recruitment, for example, donation rates are higher while average donation amounts are lower compared to card-only. Regarding conversation design, research focuses on persuasion techniques, the message delivered during the conversation, and language/body language. When looking at recruiters' body language, for example, one finding is that smiling increases the chance of an interaction being accepted by the donor compared to when a recruiter is not smiling. With respect to setting in which face to face takes place and setting related factors affecting face to face outcomes, research focuses on local settings such as traffic density and global settings such as pandemics. Solicitations under low traffic density, that is when fewer people are on the street, for example, result in higher average donation amounts compared to when solicitations are done under high traffic density, that is when more people are on the street. Based on our results and the recommendations provided in these reviews articles, we developed 24 guiding questions, which fundraising professionals can use to identify various points of interest for their campaigns. Do keep one thing in mind, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to face-to-face. Outcomes can differ based on several factors, and one must tailor their approach and keep revising this approach based on obtained results and changing factors. Thank you for listening. If you want to know more about this research, read our article, which is published open access.